you've got to know that this is coming, and you got to have a little bit of room as far as food is concerned. You got to have a little bit of money, which has never been an issue because he fast expanded, and you got to get the Mountain King out right away. I mean, there's absolutely no reason to wait. I think he just forgot. So again, you just got to practice so that you don't forget these kinds of major things. Because look at the hero levels now. The Night Elf is at 4 and 3 compared to the human player who is at 3 and 1. So really, the Night Elf player has gained almost double the amount of experience for his heroes, and that's just indicative of where this game is going. The game is over. The game has been over for a long, long time. But the the Night Elf player really just, for whatever reason, maybe isn't quite confident enough to really press the attack, to really keep the pressure on the human player at this point. He is going to start to do that here in just a minute, but he really probably could end the game here more quickly than he does. But he chooses to get another expansion, and he's continuing to get the bears that he wants, so that he has just the right army, and he's going to eventually he's doing a good here. He's moving on to mountain giants. What he's assuming, he's actually giving the human player way too much credit. He's assuming, okay, he's seen my bears. He's probably building whatever kind of army he wants to counter bears. So there's a couple of different possibilities. Maybe he's getting a whole bunch of breakers. Maybe he's getting mortars. He's got to be doing maybe some sorceresses. There's a whole bunch of different ways. Different people have different ideas about what really counters bears. But no, he's really not doing any of that. He has continued to counter the huntresses. You look at the army the human player has now. Oh my gosh, I am a huntress killing machine. Unfortunately, the Night Elf player now has 0 huntresses. Now that's not quite true. I exaggerate. He's got a couple left, and but again, rather than focusing down the huntresses, which would be easy prey, he starts trying to focus on the Keeper of the Grove, and he gets lucky and he gets this bear kill. That was just kind of a bad luck thing for the Night Elf player there. But again, why are you focusing on the hero right there? You're not going to take him down. Kill the stuff that you can drop the most easily. And in that case, get a couple of those huntresses down. Like, if nothing else, maybe get a little experience for your heroes at that point. But because he's massed up so much tier 1, he's got a big food count. Like, he's at 77, the Night Elf is at 70. So you think, well, hey, he's not doing that bad. I mean, come on, he's got a food advantage. Yeah, but one bear is going to take out 2 riflemen, And so while he might have a food advantage, he really has an inferior army at this point. And like I said, the Night Elf player's already moved on. He's already getting these mountain giants that he can use taunt to prevent this massive rifleman army from being able to focus fire on the units that he wants to focus on, etc. And again, if you just look at, you got an 80 foot army or close to it, and he gets up to this place where he's going to try and expand again, and his units just kind of camp there for a minute or two before he starts to engage the creeps. There's no need for that. Like, as soon as you get there, just hit them. Even if your archmage is out front a little bit, just go ahead and hit him. You got an 80 foot army, there's nothing to worry about. You got priests to heal anybody that gets hurt. Like, there's just no reason not to start creeping right away, other than you just don't quite have the skill yet to do so. So again, that's what's going on there. And the Night Elf player doing a decent job using these illusions to kind of scout the map out and stuff like that, make sure that the human's not expanding right under his nose. And in spite of the fact that the human player knows, okay, I've just been scouted, he decides, I'm going to creep this out anyway. Maybe the Night Elf player's cross-map and there's nothing he can do about it. But maybe not. Like, maybe the reason that illusioned Demon Hunter is right there is because the Night Elf army's not far behind. So now what do? You get yourself caught in between the creeps and the Night Elf army. You have no front line. Really, like I said earlier, he should have been thinking, okay, it's desperation time. I'm way behind in this game. I've really lost the first couple of battles. All the early game stuff is going against me. It's desperation time. When it's desperation time, you have to be thinking about a few possibilities. One would be this. As soon as possible, get tier 3 and start massing up tier 3 units. Hide in your base if you have to do that. Build a couple more towers to do that. Get to tier 3. Do something drastic. Or maybe the other scenario would be, I'm going to try and expand a couple of times and try and out-resource this guy and win a war of attrition somehow. But you have to do something in desperation time. You can't just kind of sit back in your base. You can't not creep. You can't, this guy he's losing his entire army. And the Night Elf player's using his stabs well enough that he's really not losing much of anything. So again, the micro here is very much lacking. There's not a whole lot of focus fire going on. And quite frankly, the Night Elf player is just a better player. And so he should win this game, and he does. He wins it convincingly. But again, we're talking about mistakes that the human player makes. And, he's been generous. He's given us a lot of things to look at. So, anyway, there you have it. So, he's down to 36 food, and again, the Night Elf is at 69 food, okay? He saved some of those injured units with those staves, so he's clearly in control, and once again, he really can end the game right now if he wants to, and if he was a little bit more aggressive, he probably would, but he's going to kind of take his time. I think he knows I've got this game in the bag. There's no need to rush it. Let's make sure. Let's make this killing blow a certain blow. So he's going to gather up all his guys here and get them all healed up, and then he's going to march right down there and end this game, and good for him. Now, at this point, you see two workshops going up, and again, I would say, look, it's too little, too late. Like, you're not at tier 3. The great thing about the mortars that you can use against Night Elf is when you get the splash damage, you can take out Dryads in a heartbeat. And you know what? If you have some decent micro with a few sorceresses and a little bit of a front line, maybe a couple of breakers, and you get 5 or 6 mortars in the back line on slowed bears, you stand a chance at least taking out a couple of those bears. You got the sorceresses that can slow them down, and also focus fire with their magic damage. It does extra damage. You got the mortar teams that just do a lot of damage, period, and that could potentially be a good thing. But again, he's just a step behind, like, in every possible way. He's got 3,500 gold, 1,200 wood. I mean, he can't possibly spend it fast enough. He doesn't have enough production buildings, and now he's got 4 production buildings. But again, he's at tier 2. His opponent is just cranking out superior units. He's at tier 3. And so again, it's pretty much, it's been over for a while, and this is just the cleanup phase of the game. He can't creep, like if maybe he could go and kind of try and take out this Goblin Merchant creep shop over here. Maybe he could get a couple of scrolls. I mean, use that money somehow. You got all that money, go about that merchant and buy a whole buttload of healing scrolls. Like, maybe, just maybe that plus a couple of invulnerability potions or something along those lines gives you a fighting chance. But he doesn't do any of those things. He sits in his base and he waits. That will never do you any good. He's far behind. He's 4 and 2 on his levels, and I believe the Night Elf player is approaching 6 and 6 at this point. He's going to be at 6 and 6 here real soon. So he's taking out these towers because why not? I mean, it's like free experience for him at this point. The Night Elf player is doing some damage. The human player comes in and has enough of an army to kind of, scare him off, because the Night Elf doesn't really want to fight in a bad position right now. And like I said before, he wants to make sure that this last blow is a decisive blow. So, point in fighting in a bad position. Time is on his side at this point. So, he's going to go back around to the main base of his opponent, which is not extremely well protected, and this will be the final battle. So, let me begin to sum this up a little bit. If you're going to fast expand, do not forget that you still want to get to tier 2 as quickly as possible. You give up an early game advantage by fast expanding in order to gain a later game advantage. The extra resources will kick in later. They will kick in at tier 2 and tier 3. So you really have a couple of choices. If you're going to fast expand, you're going to get to tier 2 later than your opponent. Generally speaking, I see some players skip tier 2 altogether and start really going right to tier 3. I see others tech directly to tier 3 while building some tier 2 units so that they have enough of an army to hold off a tier 2 push. That's probably a safer thing to do. You can build a whole pantload of towers in your base and at your expo with all the extra money that you've got to make the fact that you don't have as many units as your opponent. There's a lot of different things you can do, but in this case, in this particular game, we see a human player who really probably doesn't see the big picture of the whole thing. All he knows is, oh, I'm a human player, it's Lost Temple, I need to fast expand. Okay, great, you can fast expand as a human player. You don't have to be good to fast expand. But if you're going to fast expand, you need to understand how that fits into an overall strategy. And you need to have some concept of where you're going in the game. Don't just fast expand and then play a tier 1 game, unless you're going to build like 4 barracks and crank out footmen and riflemen, and then do your thing that way, and then maybe kind of tech up to knights or something like that. I mean, I don't know. There's plenty of different options. Like, he could have done a lot of different things here. I just don't think. I think in the other commentary, Shark, I think, gave the human player a little too much credit, and he kind of said, well, maybe he was thinking this, or maybe I think what he intended was this. I don't know that he really intended anything. I think he just didn't know what he was doing, honestly. And so don't be that guy. I guess that's the moral of the story. Have a plan from the beginning. If you're going to fast expand, why are you doing it? If you don't know why you're doing something, you really need to sit down and figure that out, because that's a very important aspect of this game. It's not just what you do, but it's why you do it. So if you're going to do the fast expansion, what are you doing? Well, you're giving up an early game advantage as far as the number of units are concerned in order to get more resources, so that later in the game you will not only catch up in terms of having the power in your army and the number of units, but you will indeed pass. You'll go flying by your opponent, provided that you can continue to out-resource him, because you'll have more gold to build more units more quickly. You'll also be able to get items that you need, so you'll have greater flexibility because, gosh, you get all this extra money. So you can build more towers, you can buy more units, you can buy more items, whatever it is that you happen to need, you've got that flexibility, so use it to your advantage. In this case, the human player didn't do any of those things, and he basically got his butt kicked. So, hey, there you go. Hopefully there's a few things in there that you can learn from this game, even though it was really just kind of filled with mistakes and rather lopsided. I hope you walked away with something there, and I will wrap this commentary up. Hey man, I will be talking to you guys again soon here, hopefully, and until then, keep it real.